Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Aja Goare. President Trump fired off another threat on Twitter, telling North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un he has a bigger nuclear button. CBS's Aja Goare has the latest on flaring tensions and talks between North and South Korea.
President Trump is responding to North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un's warning that he now has a nuclear button on his desk. The president tweeted, "I too have a nuclear button, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works." Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was asked about the tweet.
The president speaks for himself. I think we have to continue, as he said, to take the threat from North Korea very seriously.
While President Trump is sending messages via Twitter, North and South Korea have a new way to communicate. A North Korean spokesman announced on state TV that a hotline in Korea's demilitarized zone was restored for the first time in nearly 2 years. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says he's open to talks about allowing North Korean athletes to compete in the upcoming Winter Olympics being held in South Korea. South Korean President Moon Jae-in says he is open to meeting with the North without any preconditions. The White House is opposed to talks unless North Korea first abandons its nuclear program.
Kim Jong-un may be trying to drive a wedge of some sort between the two nations, between our nation and the Republic of Korea. I can assure you that that will not happen.
The U.S. says it will not oppose the talks, but doubts Kim Jong-un's sincerity. And Pentagon officials say there is evidence North Korea is preparing for another test of its intercontinental ballistic missiles. Aja Goare, CBS News, the White House.
Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, says the U.S. could seek even more economic sanctions against North Korea if they go through with another missile test, which is a violation of UN resolutions. The Senate swears in new members today, Minnesota Democrat Tina Smith and Alabama Democrat Doug Jones, after returning from Christmas recess. Multiple sources tell CBS News they expect former presidential candidate Mitt Romney to run for Senate in Utah. Sources say Romney has been quietly preparing in case Senator Orrin Hatch did not seek re-election. Now, after 40 years in office, Senator Hatch does announce he plans to retire. Romney has not said anything publicly about his plans to run, but he did change information on his Twitter page that indicates interest in the race. That election will be held in November. Meanwhile, House and Senate leaders are also meeting to discuss budget caps and the legislative agenda. Here in Montana, an avalanche in West Yellowstone has claimed the life of a Minnesota man. Rescuers were called to the area of the Cabin Creek campground Tuesday evening on a report of an avalanche with an injured snowmobiler. A helicopter from Air Idaho helped locate the victim and render medical aid. Revival efforts, though, were unsuccessful, and 40-year-old Waylon Weideman has died at the scene. An investigation will be conducted today by the Gallatin County Coroner with help from the Gallatin National Forest Avalanche Center. Authorities in western Montana believe a homeless man found dead in a Kalispell parking lot this week had been living in his van. 61-year-old David Martinez of California was found dead in the vehicle parked at the Kalispell Walmart. The coroner believes Martinez was dead for about a week before his body was discovered. Walmart employees found the body after they noticed the van had been sitting in the parking lot for quite some time and went to check. Martinez was then found frozen inside a sleeping bag. Snow is falling in Florida as a major winter storm heads up the East Coast. It comes as a deep freeze continues to grip much of the United States. CBS's Meg Oliver reports from Times Square in New York.
Snow fell Wednesday morning in normally balmy Tallahassee. The winter storm brought a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain to the southeast. A state of emergency has been declared in Georgia.
Please stay off the roadway, stay home, stay safe.
The storm is expected to bring even more snow as it heads up the East Coast.
Blizzard possibilities exist anywhere from Cape Cod and the islands all the way up to the northern coast of Maine.
The storm comes as much of the country continues to deal with bitter cold temperatures. Indianapolis Tuesday tied a 131-year record low of minus 12 degrees. In Austin, Texas, bridges and overpasses froze over, causing accidents.
Texas still gets cold, and people underestimate that.
And the falls were frozen in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it was 1 degree Fahrenheit early Wednesday. More than 2/3 of the country woke up today to temperatures below 20 degrees, including here in Times Square. Ann Harden and her grandson are visiting from San Antonio, Texas.
How are you dealing with the cold?
I'm layered.
Yeah. How many layers do you have on?
1, 2, 3.
3
and
layers.
2 on the bottom.
2 on the bottom.
Look at that.
And in western New York, near whiteout conditions were blamed for a deadly pileup that involved at least 75 vehicles Tuesday. Meg Oliver, CBS News, New York.
Hilton Head International Airport in Savannah, Georgia is closed due to the extreme weather. We turn now to the weather scene with Ed McIntosh, and you got to feel bad for those people in the south because at least we expect those conditions here.
Absolutely, and we got a little break for a couple of days, Asia, and now we're back out at least for parts of the region, and it isn't a big deal, but it's just kind of adding a little bit on top of what we already have in most locations, and it's warm enough. You see those pink shaded areas around Great Falls and to just a little bit into the eastern plains where it's warm enough for rain showers or a rain snow mix, and we're watching the path of that storm to continue to move from northwest Montana, now starting to move into the southeastern portion of the state. It will continue to exit. Behind it, a little quieter weather pattern. We're going to talk about that with the forecast coming up in just a few minutes from now.
Thanks, Ed. We'll check back in. And as much of the country bundles up to endure the harsh cold conditions, people in the nation's northernmost state basked in record highs. The temperature in Anchorage today is in the mid-30s, but on Tuesday, the official temperature hit a record 44 degrees in Anchorage. The temperature ties with records set in 1981 and 2011. Some parts of Anchorage had temperatures closer to 50 degrees. The National Weather Service says that's about twice as warm as the normal high of 24 degrees due to high and low pressures working to push tropical air to the north. A Montana woman visiting the area says she is pleasantly surprised.
I'm from the Bitterroot Valley in Montana, and it's colder there today than it is here in Alaska, and my children that are there are all jealous because I've got 40-degree temperatures here. I expected to come up here and freeze to death all winter. I'm heading home in the spring, and I hoped I lived through the winter, but now it's like, hey, this is great.
The warmth won't last. A low of 12 degrees is forecast for Anchorage on Monday. Meanwhile, flu activity in Montana is now considered widespread. So far, the highest number of cases have been documented in Yellowstone County. That's according to the latest report from the state health department as of last Friday. 222 new cases of the flu were reported in 32 Montana counties last week. 81 cases have been confirmed in Yellowstone County. Bighorn County saw 24 cases and Richland 22 cases. In total, 613 cases of influenza have been confirmed statewide. Those cases resulted in 115 hospitalizations and 7 deaths. The Center for Disease Control reports that all but 13 states are reporting widespread flu. Health officials advise people to get a flu shot, wash your hands often, and of course try to avoid contact with sick people. Before we get to break, it was a history-making day in Helena politics as the city's first ever African-American mayor was sworn in. A crowd filled the state capitol rotunda on Tuesday to watch Will McCollins officially take over as Helena's mayor. Collins narrowly defeated longtime Mayor Jim Smith in November's elections. His victory drew national attention because of his life story. Collins first came to Helena more than 20 years ago as a refugee from Liberia. He's called the time since the election a whirlwind. Collins says he plans to focus on affordable housing, a downtown plan, and more law enforcement. Still ahead on the noon news, the U.S. calling for an emergency meeting to address the unrest in Iran. Details next. But first, Ed has our weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching MTN News with Aja Goare, Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and farm and ranch news from the Northern Egg Network. This is